how to rearrange formulas. So we want to be able to solve for a variable in terms of another variable or other variables. Okay, and so we're going to use equation solving techniques. We want to isolate the variable we're solving for on one side of the equation by itself and have the other side of the equation be the stuff with other variables and numbers. That's the idea. Okay, so looking at this, we want to solve for x. Now I just said solve for x. That's a shortcut of saying solve for x in terms of the other variables and numbers. So in this case, solving for x in terms of p, r, and t. And the number 3 is going to be on the other side. Okay, so what you do depends upon the structure of the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 under the t. Okay, and so now when we put a 1 under t, we can cross multiply. So 3xp times 1, I won't put the times 1 because it's the same thing, and then r times t. Now I'm going to circle the variable we're solving for in red to highlight it. We want to reverse the operations on the x. And so 3xp implies a certain operation. All right, so I'm going to call on somebody. And Daniel, what operation is implied with 3xp? What operation is implied with these? Daniel?
Multiplication.
Right. So we're going to reverse the multiplication of 3 and p to the x by dividing by 3p. So the x is now left by itself because 3p divided by 3p is 1. And whatever we divide by is on the bottom. And so that's it. We have now solved for x. So x equals some stuff. I'm going to give you guys one to do your turn in a moment. I'm just pausing because I don't want to go too fast. Okay. So again, I count to try, but just shoot me a message if for whatever reason. Okay, here's one to do on your own. All right, I'll wait about 10 seconds, and then I'll show you a worked out solution. Okay. So here's what you should do. So again, since this is basically fractional, we're not adding or subtracting at all, we can put a 1 under the L and use cross multiplication, since this really means 2 fractions equal. So I cross multiplied. Since 1 times 5xm is the same, I didn't write the times 1, and then k times L. And again, as before, the operations here are multiplication. So we divide by the 5m, so we can get the x by itself, and then whatever we divide by over here is on the bottom of the fraction. So we just rearranged this formula that originally had L solved for in terms of the other variables. We rearranged it so that we have X solved for in terms of the other variables. And people do that because if they have the numbers Km and L, if you plug Km and L here, you're going to have to solve equations all the time. But if you rearrange it, then you could just put KLM here and you get the numerical value like that. That's why this is important. That's why we rearrange formulas. Okay, so we'll have one more to do like this, and then I'll give you 3 to try on your own. Well, I'll do the solutions on the board, and then we'll see what you guys got. Okay, so now this time we have a plus. So we can't represent this as a proportion. Okay? And sometimes people solve these backwards. So we're solving for y in terms of x. And so when people say solve for y, they think, oh, I got to do something to the y. Because again, you know you got to do something. You see the y first, and so you react. Boom. Minus 4y. We're solving for y. We want to get the y by itself. So we're going to get rid of the plus 3x. Okay, and then we'll divide by 4. All right, it's a 2-step process. So I'm going to minus 3x on both sides. Okay, now this is not 17x. You don't know what the numerical value of x is. It represents any number. So you're assuming x is 1 if you do 17x. X may not be 1. You know, it could be, but it could be anything else as well. So you actually got to write this as an expression. You're getting a representative value. You're not trying to get a numerical value. You have to substitute numbers to do that. And now looking on the side with the variable, we divide by 4. And so whatever we divide by, we put on the bottom of the fraction. Now you can actually simplify this, but we're not going to worry about that right now. All right? We're going to just try to keep it simple. Let's see if we can understand the basics. Can we rearrange the formula for y in terms of x? Now, if you know how to do that, by all means, go for it. We won't worry about that until we get into chapter 4 stuff. Right now, we're still in chapter 2. I think wait, are we? I think we are, maybe. I've been jumping around a little bit. Okay, so here's one to do on your own. Okay, so I'll wait another 10 seconds. Okay, so we're solving for y. So we're going to leave the 5y by itself. So I'm minusing the 6x. Now again, that's not 18 minus 6. So this isn't going to be 12x. All right, you can't assume x is 1. It represents any number. So you got to represent the value. So that's called an expression. And then reversing multiplying by 5, I divided by 5, and whatever number you divide by is on the bottom of the fraction. So the right side divided by 5. Okay, now it's okay to leave it like that. We won't worry about simplifying that at this time. Okay, and notice you just can't switch these numbers around. You actually got to do equation solving techniques to both sides to rearrange the formula. Now we have y in terms of x. So we just solved for y in terms of x. So y equals some stuff with x. I know I repeat myself in different ways, but that's what teachers do, right?